Now we'll create the corridor mass haul analysis. Go to the Mass Haul menu, Create Corridor Mass Haul Analysis. Here we'll give it a name called Trimble Road CMH. We'll select the road we have called Trimble Road. In this case we only have one corridor. And the sampling interval will be 25 feet. And we'll tell it to respect the earthwork site capacities. One of the next steps we'll do is to create waste sites and borrow pits. And if we select yes here, we'll honor the capacities that we give each of those sites. If we say no, we'll assume that we have unlimited capacity at those sites. Now if you look in the Project Explorer, you'll notice that you have a corridor mass haul analysis as a part of your corridor. Right-click it and go to Properties. Here we'll see some cost values. This is the cost to move material up and down the alignment. In our case, we'll change this to 30 cents. Note the units on this is dollars per cubic yard per mile, so it's the amount of money to move 1 cubic yard 1 mile. Now create the corridor mass haul diagram. You can do this by right-clicking on the corridor mass haul in the Project Explorer, or going to the Mass Haul menu and go to Corridor Mass Haul Diagram. Here I'll move the diagram up so we can see the full screen view. You see along the x-axis we have stationing. We see along the y-axis that we have volume of material. To exaggerate the vertical scale of the graph is just like in the 3D view of Business Center. Hold Control-Shift on the keyboard and scroll the mouse wheel. In the mass haul diagram we see that we have 4 ordinates, or lines, in the graph. Ordinates is just a term used to describe the y value of a graph. We see that we have a red line which represents the accumulated cut throughout the project. We see that we have a blue line which represents the accumulated fill throughout the alignment. We see that we have a green line which is the accumulated usable material, and an orange line which is the accumulated unusable material. As you can see in other parts of Business Center, we can use the Explore Object tool here as well. Go to the Tools menu, Explore Object. Now select a line to explore. So we'll select the usable ordinate, and as we scroll along, you'll see we see station values and volumes. So anywhere along this alignment, we can see the volume of usable material. And if we click at a specific station, we can see more information. For example, we see the total usable volume, the station value, the northing and easting and the plan view of the alignment, the instantaneous cuts and fills, the accumulated cuts and fills, the cross haul, and usable and unusable. And we'll talk a little bit more about these values in some of the next steps. Let's look at the graph in more detail now and determine what these lines mean. Remember, we set the usable percentage of each material to 100%, so the orange line, or unusable material, is always 0. So in that case, the green line, or usable material, is simply the difference between the cut and fill. So it's the cuts minus the fills. So as we add fill or accumulate fill, the usable material goes down or below 0, since we would have a deficit of material. As we start to add cut, the usable line trends back towards 0, and when we add more cut than fill, we see the line goes above 0 because now we have an excess of material.